Welcome to another episode of Mind Over Matter. I'm your host, Anya, and today we have an incredibly inspiring guest with us, Jamie Fleming. Jamie is a survivor of childhood sexual trauma who found healing through assisted therapy. Her journey from living with trauma for 34 years to be healed in just 8 hours is nothing short of miraculous. Jamie, welcome to the show. Today,
Thank you.
Mhm. Today, we are diving into a powerful topic. The biggest challenge is the greatest victory, finding strength in struggle. Jamie, your story is a testament to resilience and the transformative power of healing. So, let's get started. So, Jamie, can you share a moment with us when you realized that traditional methods weren't working for your trauma and how you decided to try psychedelic assisted therapy?
Yes, so I grew up very religious. Grew up in the church and they prayed over me and I did counseling and Christian counseling and um different like group therapies I went to that were like outpatient clinics. And just none of it really helped. And, I had been trying for, well, most of my life to just get healed from all that trauma as a kid that I went through. And was raped and molested by 2 different uncles from the age of 3 until I was about 9 years old. And so I had a lot of trauma I was trying to overcome, and none of it was working. And, honestly, like, it kind of was when I was in the car accident, in 2020, and, I had sustained some injuries in my neck and my back, and so that's kind of when I was more, like, in a lot of pain, and and I've been on hooked on opiates for 2.5 years, and I thought, like, there's gotta be a better way to get off this opiates, and there's gotta be a way to just get healed finally. And my husband actually is the one who went through the program before I did, and it was out of the country, and, he came back completely changed. He had post-traumatic stress, from the war in Afghanistan, and so when I he came home and he was just better in so many ways, it was like, "Man, I want that and I need that for me." And so, they had 2 different programs. There was one for veterans that my husband went through, and then the other program was for getting off, like, opiates and stuff like that. And so I was like, "Well, I have post-traumatic stress and I'm trying to get off opiates, so I kinda have both." And so I went through that, and it was, I mean, amazing. Just that was kinda what made me think, "Okay, I need to do this," because my husband came back, and he had went through it, and he was completely healed. And so I just knew at that point that's what I need to do, and that's the healing I need is and so when he came back changed, that was kinda what made me say, "Okay, I need to do this."
Mhm. It's often a leap of faith to try something unconventional.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. So, you mentioned that your trauma was healed in just 8 hours. Can you walk us through what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called psychedelic-assisted therapy, and so, before I even got there, they had me do, like, make sure my heart was all these different checkups they make you do before you even go, just to make sure your heart's good and there's not anything medically wrong with you. Um, and then when you get there, they do it again. And so they do all that EKGs, all of that stuff on you first, and double check and make sure you're good. But then, because I was there for about 10 days and not, 4 or 5 days like my husband, I had a couple more days in between the different psychedelics I did to kind of like give me more hydration of fluids. And I was still on the medicine. Um, I was still on some of the medicine, my pain medicine, but they said I had to get to every 12 hours before I could, do the program, and so I had a really good pain doctor, and he was worked with me, and I got there, and then that's when I just got real sick, kinda like I had the flu, and, so anyway, I got there, and, um, it was called ibogaine, and it's from a bark from a tree from Africa, and it's, called iboga tree, and so, every hour, they would give me 1 pill, and they kinda warned me, they just said, "Hey, you might see visions, and if you do, if there's anything ever uncomfortable, all you have to do is open your eyes and it'll go away." And I was like, "Okay." And so, I, I only needed 4. I got to the 4th pill and I was just good. I was already seeing a lot of great just visions, the whole time. And, is like some random stuff, like one time I saw like a cookie cutter of a dog, okay, but it was red and it was made of carpet. I was like, "Well, that was random." So, it's a lot of random stuff that I saw.
Yeah.
There was, like, a lot of little girls running through forests and stuff like that, and I was like, "Okay." And some of them that looked like my daughter, some of them that looked like me when I was younger. I
Mhm,
saw hieroglyphics, every language, um, like, every single one of them, just like a flashcard really fast. There were people that were like, a ton of people that were walking, like, slow motion, and then they just started sprinting. So I saw, like, a lot of just random stuff.
mhm,
Um, and then I see myself as a little girl running through a forest, and then I get grabbed by my uncle, and it shows his face, and I wasn't ready to see that yet, so I kinda just opened my eyes, and I was like, "I'm not ready for that yet." And so I saw just other random stuff. I saw a dog that I grew up with that was really there for me growing up, and, so I saw him running past me. I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." I saw my grandfather that had passed years ago, and he showed up in a frame, and he was waving at me, and that was really cool.
mhm,
Kinda like, "What are you doing here?" and waving at me really big. It was cute. Um, and then I saw this life-size pill bottle that just poured out, and I was like, "Okay, that's probably, the opiates, the hydrocodone I was on for 2.5 years. That's probably what that symbolized." And, when it poured all that out, it went to this white that's not a white here. I mean, I don't know if it was heaven or where it was, but it wasn't here, and because it was so bright white.
mhm,
And, um and I just heard the most beautiful voice, um, and all it said was a really loving, caring, beautiful voice, kinda like a man's voice maybe, and, it was just, "Are you ready?" And then a few seconds later, "Are you ready?"
mhm,
And he kinda said it a couple of times, and I was like I knew that meant he was gonna, take me back to, the rape that happened
mhm,
at 3, and I was like, "Oh, am I ready to see that yet?"
mhm,
So, I was like, "Okay, let's just get it over with." And so, this time when it showed it to me, I was 37 when I went through this, so it's been, 3.5 years now at this point, but, I was 37, so it showed me a picture of me every year, so it went backwards. So I was like 36, 35, 15, 14, 12, 10, and got all the way back to when I was 3.
mhm,
And then it showed me, how it happened, like, we're walking through the forest, and then he started raping me, and that's when if you ever seen the Matrix movie,
right,
um, it's kind of like I saw a few of the vision of the rape, but then my whole vision just went like thousands of them of the rape part. It
mhm,
stopped on the rape part scene, and then it just was thousands of them in my vision. And that's when they call it purging. So I threw up.
mhm,
And it tasted like pure poison that I was throwing up. It
right,
wasn't a lot, but it was gross and it tasted like poison. So I felt like I was like throwing up the toxins from that abuse that I had went through. Um, and like I said, I grew up very religious, and so you weren't allowed to be angry. You weren't allowed to be angry about things. So I never felt like I was allowed to be angry about the abuse I went through, and nothing ever happened. I got swept under the rug like no big deal. Nothing happened. Just don't let Jamie alone. I had 2 older brothers. Don't leave Jamie alone with your uncles. And they kind of put all of that responsibility on my brothers, and they were kids themselves.
right,
And so, which, that's crazy. Uh, but, I saw a vision of myself, and it was really kind of creepy because I was screaming and yelling and crying and my fist in the air, bawling my eyes out, and my face is really red, but you can't hear me, which I always felt like I never, like, felt heard, because nothing, like I said, nothing ever happened when I finally got tired of it happening. Because every time it happened, it was because I was going to see my dad because my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. And so when that all happened, the abuse started happening was when I would go see my dad. Well, at one point, my uncle lived with my dad, and then the other part of the times was just because they lived in the same town, like, we were always around him and we're always visiting my grandma. Well, my uncle lived with my grandma, and so it always happened when I was going to visit my dad. And so, it was always kinda like, "Man, I wanna see my dad, but I know I'm gonna be abused." And so it's a very torn feeling of, at such a young age of like, "I wanna see my daddy," but I don't wanna get hurt. And so I think I was like maybe 7 or 8, and I finally told about him. I just said he touched my frontie. They didn't know till years later into my adulthood what actually happened. And they didn't even know about the other uncle that, maybe do stuff to him once. But it showed that to me that I really did have anger, and it was okay that I was angry. And so it was super healing experience. Like, I woke up like the next day just better. Like, all the weight was just gone. I couldn't believe just like and at one point it put me to sleep because and then I woke up kind of disappointed like, man, I wanted to see more cool stuff. But it was kind of like you've been through enough, you got the healing you needed, now you need to rest. And so it kind of put me to sleep.
Right.
And then and then a few days later I did the 5-MeO DMT, and that is like you smoke it. And so that was completely different. I was really nervous about that. And because my husband, when he took it, he's like, "Oh yeah, it was like a rocket ship. You just explode." And I was like, "What? Explode?"
Mhm.
It's really scary. I was like, "I don't know if I want to explode." Uh, but not like not literally, but just
Yeah.
on that he felt like he did. And so I
Mhm,
was like, I don't really want to explode." And it was really hard because with that stuff, it completely blinded me.
mhm,
So I couldn't see except, like, again, that really beautiful white that's not a white here, but with really pretty patterns, and even symbols and patterns that I don't even think we have. Didn't
mm,
recognize some of them. But that's all I saw. But and it took me, probably 5 minutes or so to really just let go. I did a lot of self-talk in my head like, "It's okay. It's okay," because I had that moment of, "Holy shit, what did I just take?" 'Cause it kinda scares you for a second when you 'cause y like I said, it blinded me, and then I'm like, "What did I just do? What did I just take?" Um, and then, when I finally just surrendered to it and let go, I did explode, but it was into this beautiful diamond, and then just love overwhelmed me, but it wasn't just, like, it was love for myself that I had never had before. Like, I had never really
mhm.
loved myself all my life, and so for 37, 30 most all my life, basically. And
Right.
so, growing up in the religious household I did, everything, you're going to hell for everything, everything's wrong with you, something's wrong with you, and I still believe in God, but I haven't went to church in years now because of all the damage that I've had to overcome from it, from the church. And, so it was just great to just it overwhelmed me with just love for myself for the first time in my life. It was beautiful.
Mhm, right. So, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your story of finding strength in struggle and turning challenges into victories is truly inspiring. For our listeners, remember that every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth and transformation. Embrace your struggles, stay resilient, and keep pushing forward. Stay tuned for more episodes of Mind Over Matter, where we continue to explore the path to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and keep shining your inner light.